Good afternoon, folks. Freddie Vasquez. This is the lunch break news break right here on Basement Politics.
Freddie Win.
Good afternoon. Happy TGIS, Freddie Vasquez. Basement Politics lunch break news break. Good afternoon, folks. Currently, it is 21 degrees. It is cold outside. 21 degrees, high is 22. We're just about at the high. Tomorrow's going to be 24 degrees, not much warmer. Sunday, it will be 43 degrees. It warms up a little bit. Next week, we'll have some warmer weather. It'll be in the 50s, hopefully. It'll stay that way, but it's cold outside. Bundle up. The wind is blowing furiously. It's howling. I can hear it, right? And you got to thank the guys that are outside working, right? Shout out to the DPW guys out there working in the cold, working hard. I've been seeing crews all over Yonkers recently, doing a lot of stuff, getting things done. Today and yesterday, actually, they were on the corner of Riverdale and Prescott, I believe. No, I'm sorry, Prospect. And you can see there they are working on a fire hydrant. I believe they replaced a pipe there from what I saw as I was driving by, but I did notice them there also yesterday. So I want to say thank you to the guys working out there in the cold, making sure that the fire hydrants are in working order. That's very important. I mentioned that previously on podcast as I actually found one in No Dine Hill, and I'm going to always refer to that. And I, got it fixed that same day. And then the fire on Mulberry Street, I had reports of fire hydrants not working properly the night of the fire, which was confirmed by a very reliable source who definitely knows, knows for a fact. And I don't want to say any more than that because I don't want to give away the source, but just know that it's a fact, because of the source. So they had some issues there. Apparently what happened in that fire was, the pipe burst that night. So the pressure, was reduced significantly. So here you see them on the corner of Riverdale and Prospect replacing a pipe, right? So they don't bust. And especially in this cold weather, you get a lot of pipe breaks, right? And you see that a lot happen in residential homes, right? And so, that causes a problem, causes water everywhere. And it causes a mess for tenants, landlords, homeowners, but specifically landlords and tenants. Right. Today, I was at the landlord-tenant court with a client of mine. He was, there. I was there helping him out. He didn't have an attorney, but I wanted to be there. He wanted me there just so I can, help guide him through any of that stuff. Not that I'm an attorney, but I understand a little bit of that, landlord-tenant stuff, commercial leases, real estate stuff. And the landlord, his landlord hired Andrew Romano. His brother, Dan Romano, is a city court judge, and the Romanos are pretty well known here, do a lot of real estate stuff, own a lot of real estate here in the city of Yonkers. And I mentioned recently, someone actually called me from Andy Romano's office over something I mentioned on a podcast, right? And they were upset with what I said, but I was right, right? They were wrong, I was right, but we had a good conversation. I did enjoy it, and I left off not thinking anything negatively of you to the person that called me. But anyway, Andy Romano comes into the courthouse today. As I was coming in, I saw him. He was just behind me. And, he walks in and everybody knows Andy. He's the king of the court. Andy Romano is the king of the court, right? He's there sitting down. He runs the show. He comes in. The court officers, who are there by the metal detectors all say, "Hey, Andy, how you doing?" He goes right past the metal detectors. He has his look on his face like, hey, as he acknowledges them. It's just another day at the office for Andrew Romano. However, it's not just another day for a lot of the people that were there because they were being evicted. Andy Romano represented nearly half of the landlords, if not more. So he pretty much sat there, right, in the plaintiff's side on the chair. Even at one point had his hands behind his back, and he's just
shouting things out across the courtroom to different people and all that. He's even cursing in there. He's like, "Oh shit, you're here, you're fucking," right? And I was like, this guy just runs the show, you know. And so there were a lot of people there who were behind on their rent, and Andy was representing the landlords, and they wanted them out. They wanted them out. Many individuals, had received extensions, but they were tired of the extensions. And Andy just said it quite frankly to the judge. Judge, you got to go. They need to get out, right? They're behind on their rent. It's not like they're up to date and they need an extension. They've had many extensions. They're still behind and they got to go. And, I understand it from the landlord's perspective, but it's tough, to see people there, obviously, having financial hardships, behind on their rent, can't afford to pay. This one gentleman's rent was $1,600, and he was there hoping to get some help from the Office of the Aging. So he pleaded with the judge to give him an extension to the end of the month. And Andy was like, "Judge, we've given him, I don't know how many extensions. How long are we going to do this? He's got to go." That's basically almost word for word what he said. He's got to go. So the lawyer representing the defendant, the tenant, said, he's trying to get some help. He's going to be going over to the Office of the Aging, which is run by Keith Olson, the Yonkers PBA president's sister, Kelly Olson. I'm not sure. I think she has a different last name, but she runs that. And hopefully he can go there and get some help with his housing, because he's done where he's at. He's done. And so Andy said, enough is enough. We want him out. But the judge was gracious enough to give him to the 21st of February. Hopefully he can get some help with the Office of the Aging, because as we spoke about it last night, the homeless situation here in the city of Yonkers is getting bad. And as Johnson County Legislator Christopher Johnson mentioned last night on the podcast, it's not just people with mental health issues, people on drugs. We're seeing people who have financial hardships. The pandemic, really hit them hard. People lost their jobs, businesses, and so they lost housing now. And a lot of the programs that were set up to help individuals who were having rental issues, rental assistance programs, ran out. They're done. They are done. And so now it's time for them to cough up the money, and they don't have it. And so now they find themselves in landlord-tenant court, where Andy Romano is the king. He's the man. He represented everybody. He's talking to everybody. Yeah, he's sitting there with his hands behind his back, and he's basically telling the judge what it's going to be. And the judge, looks at Andy, listens to him, and then he goes to the tenant and says, "Hey, you got to figure something out. What are you going to do?" And I feel bad because some of them don't have attorneys. Those that do have attorneys that either are new, or don't know what the heck, they're not that good, because the guy that was representing this one particular gentleman was just like, he didn't know what to say. Like, I wanted to get up there and speak for the guy, right? And say, "Listen, judge, we got to figure out a situation for this guy. I mean, the only other option is out on the street. And I guess if that's okay with the court to just, allow for an individual to be out on the street, then, so be it, right? Tell him he has to leave. However, he is looking to go to the Office of the Aging to get some housing assistance. I mean, this is a huge problem that a lot of people are facing. It's not just because individuals are simply being delinquent, not that there isn't any individuals like that, but the pandemic really hurt people financially. It really destroyed a lot of people. And if you're fortunate enough to be someone who managed to get through the pandemic, and you consider yourself very fortunate and lucky, but I know I was impacted, as well. I'm not homeless, thank God, so I count my blessings. But many people, unfortunately, if they don't find some solution, Andy and the judge is going to kick him out. And I don't want to pick on Andy Romano. He wasn't the only, attorney there representing landlords, and he's just doing his job, right? It's just another day at the office for Andy Romano. That's how he makes his money. So, I don't want, the individual giving me a call today upset, and I want you cursing me out. I get it. It's, that's his job. People have to pay the rent. Landlords have bills they have to pay as well. They have mortgages on these properties, and so here we are, right, with this dilemma. And how do we get past this? How do we figure out a solution that can help everyone, right? The landlords and the tenants. One of the problems, though, we can, maybe look into, our elected officials, is, who are buying these homes? Who are buying these properties here in the city of Yonkers? A lot of LLCs, companies are buying properties, even single family homes now, and that's driving prices up, right? So that's driving the cost of homes for those who are looking to buy maybe their first house, or even someone looking to become an investor. You have these other big investors gobbling everything up. And some of these properties that are for sale are not widely known. They're being, kept secret and only being, allowed to be purchased by certain individuals. So, that's another issue, right? And that's causing a problem with housing. And that's, also causing the rents to go up because investors now buy these homes, right? And they're driving up the prices, they're renovating them, and they're being very selective on who they rent out to, even in some of the worst of worst neighborhoods. No Dine Hill is going to go through a lot of changes. It's already happening. And you see a lot of investors buying up properties there and renovating them, jacking up the rent. So, we have to consider that fact also. These guys looking to just make money are causing the housing prices, to go up, right? Making it more difficult for the average person. And, it's impacting the rents. So, it's a huge complex problem. I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that because as I sat there and I saw people, one by one going up, some with representation, some without, basically just trying to plead their case, saying, I'm trying to see if I can get something, can you just give me 2 more weeks to the end of the month, and the lawyer was just like, we got them out. I mean, they got to go. How much time, Judge? How long are we going to do this? Right? That's the attitude. And at one point, and I was kind of a little annoyed by this, but the woman was there. She didn't even know she had to come up. She's like, do I come up? They're like, yeah, you come up here. So then she comes up, and then they were done, and then she didn't know they would. I guess she didn't know what to do next. So Andy just looks at her and goes, you can go. And I was like, damn. After she just was like, you have 2 weeks to come up with this money, woman, or you're out on the street. Right. And I could see in her face, it's just, it's just a sad thing to see, man. It's just very sad. Like, what do we do? What do we do? It's not my problem, right? It's not your problem. It's not, right? We don't have to worry about it. We don't. And it wouldn't be wrong of us not to worry about it, right? It's not our problem, ultimately. It truly is not. It's not our responsibility. We're not accountable for these individuals, right? And I know that. But it still bothers me, right? It still bothers me, So, it's a sad thing to see. And, hopefully those individuals can figure out a solution so that they're not on the street. We don't need any more people homeless. We have enough as it is, right, folks? And really quick before I get out, I just wanted to talk about that. I didn't want to be on here too long. I just want to say yesterday I did mention the Yonkers Tribune and Hezi. Someone had, and I don't say no names, but someone had messaged me about it after the podcast, upset. They unfollowed me. They unfollowed Basement Politics, the page. And this is somebody that really liked, Basement Politics, but they were upset by the fact that I mentioned Hezi and it wasn't in the, the best of, and I wasn't really negative. I didn't really speak about him personally. But what I did say was that some of the articles that are on the Yonkers Tribune, right, are designed to give a negative perspective or a perception, of individuals. It's made to paint them in a negative light, to make them look bad. And that's being done purposely and with intention. And the information at times is false. Or a lot of times, depending on who the individual is, false and it's political. And that's all I was saying, right? And yes, Hezi did an amazing job. At one point, he was exposing corruption. And that caused him to be attacked. That caused him to be, sued, which I believe is still ongoing. But since then, he's kind of caved in, right? He's kind of changed the way he does his reporting. The articles that he puts on his page are not necessarily, the same as or at all as they used to be. He's not talking about the corruption anymore, really. He mostly mentions, individuals negatively if it's someone that's opposing the Spano administration, right? If it's a candidate running against a Spano candidate, he'll mention them negatively. He had me on there mentioning me negatively over, a lie that was put out in the Yonkers Voice. He never reached out to me to get my side of the story. He did the same with John Cater. right? And that impacts our businesses. And so he makes his money by doing that, right? So the individual said, well, he's been attacked and he had the lawsuit, and you shouldn't say anything about the fact that he has ads because that's how he makes money. He earns a living or whatever. Well, he earns a living by attacking individuals with false information, slandering them, and hurting their businesses. How can you respect an individual that does that? My business isn't hurting businesses or hurting other individuals. I don't make money that way. And so he'll continue to get ads just like the other pages, the YV and the Newswire, from Nader Sages, Tasha Diaz's, the city clerks, if he puts these articles out like this and he doesn't mention anything about certain other individuals. And so that's his business. And then he puts out articles of me and others who have businesses. It hurts our business. And that's okay. And I was a little bit, I wasn't upset, but I thought that was a little bit unfair of that person because of the stuff that I've been doing, for the city, and also for that individual specifically very recently, in a favor that was asked. And also I've been attacked. My business, I've been sued. I'm being sued for $1 million also, just like Hezi. However, my reporting has not changed, right? I haven't caved in. I haven't given in. And for that, I think I deserve some respect, right? And not to be written off so quickly because you may not agree with what I say on a podcast, on one podcast, because, they agree on a lot of other podcasts. And so I have a lot of respect for that individual. I do. And so I just put it out on the podcast because I've been unfollowed, and maybe the message you get out to that person to, say, I don't think that's nothing we can't speak about and communicate and really work out, and I just, it's a little unfortunate that that's how it would be, right? How it is now. And so, hopefully that'll be something we could resolve in the thing. But listen, I'm always willing to be wrong, right? I'm always willing to accept that. And if you have, you disagree, I'm willing to listen, right? But, I speak what I believe to be the truth, right? What I see, and I try to not lean any way or the other. Even with Christopher Johnson last night, I said that would be my choice, but ultimately you make your decision. I don't want to influence your choice. I want to just put the information out there. And I'm just putting the information out there about the Yonkers Tribune. I mean, if you look at some of the articles that they've put in, in the past couple of years, at least since I've been, paying attention, a lot of the articles up there have been negative about certain individuals, right? They've mentioned people that I'm not even, well, I guess I do based on politics now, but other individuals completely not in politics. Maybe they're related to a politician, but they're not themselves in politics. And, to be mentioned about in ways that just are not nice, or are just mean, just blatant attack, that it serves no purpose other than to embarrass the person or try to embarrass the person, right? That's not nice. That's not okay, right? I mean, and that should be called out, right? And so why am I wrong for that, right? So I don't know. I just want to say to that person, I'm sorry that maybe I upset you. It's not my goal, but I have to call it like I see it, and everybody knows this. Everybody knows that the Yonkers Tribune is influenced by, Zehi Jeris. That's a lot of people allege, right? Hezi has his office in Nader Sage's office building. So there's a connection there. So, I mean, anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. I'm going to get up out of here. I got to get back to working. I've been working a lot, actually, recently. That's why I haven't been posting on as much. But tonight, join me for Friday with Anthony DiMaggio. We'll be on tonight. So I'll see you then. Thank you for joining me. I'm Freddie Vasquez against Basement Politics. Appreciate you, folks. Have a beautiful Friday. Stay warm. It's freezing out there. Thank you, guys. I appreciate how you guys working hard in the cold, getting things done. Very important that the fire hydrants aren't working, good working order. You don't want to come to find out that the fire hydrant doesn't work when you need it. That could be the difference between life and death. And, the difference between having one property, burn, or multiple properties burn, right? So the quicker you can get water on a property, the better. More property is safe. Really, a lot of people's possessions inside their property, especially for tenants. A lot of times tenants don't have renters insurance. And when there's a fire, and I've seen this so many times, this is why I have a thing for tenants. I do. Like I have a real soft spot for people who are renting, especially those that are, financial hardships, they lose everything and they don't get it back. They have to start all over, and they don't have any money, to do that. And a lot of times they'll end up in a motel, for a couple days. And I've seen this, whole families in one room, like 15 people, right, in one room, because, Red Cross can only do so much. So, I recommend, if you can afford it, to get renter's insurance. It's probably about no more than $200 for the year. And they'll put you in a hotel. They'll cover you, 25, 50,000, whatever you want your limit to be on your personal property, and other things that they cover for the $200 for the year. It's not every month, it's a year. So I think it's a good investment because, you never know. And I'll give you a quick example before I go. One guy, who was renting, he, had a lot of his property destroyed, and specifically these dresses that were custom made. He said they were about $300 a piece, and there were maybe like 10 of them. So I said, and I know it's a little too late now, but moving forward, you may want to get renter's insurance if you're going to keep, these dresses here that are $300 a piece. For less than one of those dresses, you could have covered all of those dresses, right? They would have paid for that, the insurance company. So if you're renting and you don't have renter's insurance, check it out, folks. I highly recommend it. Thank you, folks. Peace out. TGIF. Have a beautiful and blessed day. I'll see you tonight.
Ready.